Today we are talking about some of my favorites that got fired. Happy Sunday, everybody. It's your girl T, looking rather autumnal today, if I do say so myself. This sweater is actually entirely Mel's fault. Mel Thompson, she did a video last week where she was wearing this sweater in this delicious ballerina pink color. And because Mel is such a good egg, she always lists her jewelry and clothing and stuff in the description box. So I clicked that link for show. Here's a better look at it, by the way. It's just this long sleeve, off the shoulder, lightweight, yet still cozy perfectness. I'm not even sure if this color is still going to be available, by the way, because when I got mine, they were pretty much out of all sizes. I actually had to get one size up from my normal size, but I think it still worked out. Anyway, I'll make sure I also include a link in case any of y'all want to check this out before all the colors are gone. And don't be surprised if you see me wearing the ballerina pink one soon, because I'm one of those. If I see something I like, I tend to get it in multiple colors. Anyway, let's get into this video, which is going to be all about holy grails that I've loved for years and years in some cases that have gotten sacked. For one reason, or perhaps for many reasons, these holy grails have been replaced by products that I love just as much, if not more, than the original holy grail, the OHG. If you've been rocking with me for a long time, you know that Drunk Elephant and I go way back. I started using them kind of before they got all the YouTube and social media popularity that they have now. And I started off with what I would consider to be their hero products, the first of which was their C Firma Day Serum. Their serums are $80-$85 and up each. I believe the glycolic one for nighttime is a little bit more expensive than the vitamin C daytime serum. But Drunk Elephant, she bougie. All of her products are definitely on the luxury end of skincare. Now, I personally don't mind investing in my skincare because I feel like that's far more important than spending money on makeup. In fact, if my skincare is on point, then I can wear a $5 foundation and make it look like a $50 foundation. However, I am always down to spend less if I can. Now, the first option after the Drunk Elephant Vitamin C Serum that I liked more was one that was more expensive. That was the SkinCeuticals CE Ferulic. That serum is like $125 or something, so I was just like, this is not sustainable. So after that, I went back to the Drunk Elephant, and then more recently, I decided to try this, which is the Cosmeceutical Sciences Institute Vitamin C Plus 12% Youth Serum. Yeah. CSI, I had never heard of this brand. I just stumbled upon it in my online shopping wanderings, and it's got very minimal ingredients. In fact, it only has two. It's just butylene glycol and the L-ascorbic acid, which is the vitamin C, the active ingredient. And as you can see, it's down to here. So I've been using this for a few months now, and this is great. I feel like this works as well for my skin as the SkinCeuticals CE Ferulic, and better for my skin than the Drunk Elephant C Firma. And at about a tenth of the price of what I was paying for my Drunk Elephant. I think this is in the $10 to $15 range. Of course, I'll have everything I talk about today linked below. So color me shocked to have found a vitamin C serum that not only works for me, but works incredibly well, and that is saving me major coins. I have already picked up my next bottle of this to replace this one, which will probably run out on me in the next 2 weeks or so. So yeah, I use this every morning and I love it. I'm definitely looking forward to trying more stuff from this CSI brand, because if you ask me, the only real crime was the Drunk Elephant price tag. Another hit for Drunk Elephant, the Framboos Glycolic Night Serum, fired. This is a much less new discovery because this is my second bottle, I want to say, of this. This is the DERMA E Overnight Peel AHA Exfoliant. Again, this is something that has popped up in favorites videos of yore, so I don't want to rehash too much of what I've already said about this. Suffice to say, I find this does just as good a job as the Drunk Elephant Night Serum, and I don't even have to use it every single night. It's not designed to be used every single night, so I use it 2 or 3 times a week roughly, and I really find that it helps me reduce the amount of texture that I get on my cheeks from sun exposure and stuff like that significantly, and just as well as the Drunk Elephant Glycolic Serum used to do for me. And again, at a fraction of the price. I think this is in the $15 to $20 range, whereas the Drunk Elephant Framboos serum, I believe, is $90. So she and I have been rocking together for about 1.5 years, maybe even closer to 2 years at this point, because once I realized that this does just as good a job for me, I kind of never looked back. I don't think I've repurchased the Drunk Elephant Glycolic Serum since. Next up, we have a collection of things that have been fired, and those are my ex-favorite retinols. My first love when it came came to over-the-counter retinols is the Peter Thomas Roth one. That was the first retinol I believe that I ever used, and the difference that it made in my skin was both immediate and very noticeable in a good way. So that was my favorite retinol serum for quite a while until I tried the Obagi Retinol 1%, which is a cream, but it's great, loved it. Much like the Peter Thomas Roth, fairly high price tag. The Peter Thomas Roth one is in the $60 to $65 price range if I recall correctly, and the Obagi is even higher because Obagi is one of those cosmeceutical type of brands as well. Anyway, the Obagi has the typical price points of brands like SkinCeuticals and those other medical grade type of brands. And then my third favorite retinol was the Sunday Riley Luna. That's like $105 a bottle, I believe. That's a retinol in oil. And while I never loved that it had both fragrance and dye, I found that it seemed to be doing really great things for my skin. Unfortunately, when it comes to things like fragrances and dyes, the damage it's doing to your skin isn't necessarily acute. So it might seem like your skin is improving overall, but it's doing not so good things for your skin more in the long term. Anyway, all of those have been replaced by this, and this is the Jordan Samuel Skin Retinol Treatment Oil. A lot of you guys already know that I absolutely adore the Jordan Samuel skincare line overall. This particular product as a retinol oil would probably be most similar to the Sunday Riley Luna since they're both retinol oils. Retinol is extremely important in my skincare routine because that is the ingredient that helps me manage my acne. I have acne-prone skin, and for whatever reason, BHA do nothing for it. Peroxide solutions do nothing for it. What works for me is retinol, and that's how I've managed to keep my skin more or less clear pretty much since I started using retinol. Once I discovered that retinol is the thing that helps to keep my skin clear, I was kind of on a mission to find the strongest possible retinol that I could actually get without a prescription. And as time has gone on, I've learned that that's not really necessary. In fact, it's probably better to use the lowest dose of any particular active ingredient that you can get away with, so that in the event you do need to increase later, you actually have somewhere to go. And I absolutely love this for that because it's not going to be as strong as the Obagi 1% or anything of that caliber, but it's doing the same work as those and for a lower price tag because he's by no means an inexpensive brand, but he's definitely more reasonably priced. And this I think is in the $40 range versus at least twice as much, I want to say, for the Obagi. And then, of course, the Luna oil, which is, I think, a bigger bottle, but it's still over $100. I love being able to support an indie brand, get the ingredients that my skin needs to stay clear and happy, and all of his formulations are really thoughtful. They're fragrance-free. He stays away from essential oils. I know a lot of skincare brands and even makeup brands will brag about putting things like lavender oil in their products, and I'm just like, are you high? Lavender oil is a clinically proven skin irritant. Why are people still putting it in skincare? It's baffling. But this is my go-to retinol. I mean, unless and until my skin doesn't respond to it anymore, I feel like I can stop looking. And I love that it's a retinol in oil because then I feel like I'm just getting those nourishing benefits to help keep my skin supple as well, particularly since retinol is known to be a drying ingredient. Like I've tried the Drunk Elephant, on them one more time before we move on. I've tried their retinol, their Passioni or whatever, and she's strong. Invariably, every time I've used it, even when I tend to mix it with something to kind of thin it out like a moisturizer, I'm peeling in the morning. So I prefer to skip the drama and I'm gonna stick with Jordan. Two more skincare items before we move into makeup. The next thing that has been fired is the Glow recipe. It's their Watermelon Glow Pink Juice Moisturizer. By no means do I dislike that product, but again, fragrance. And I was able to buy something, again, that basically does the same thing for my skin at a lower price tag, and that is the Clinique Dramatically Different Hydrating Jelly. Now this particular one is the Clinique ID version where you get this little cartridge. I think they have 4 different options for different skin concerns like aging or texture or excessive dryness or whatever. This is my first time trying it with the cartridge, but you can get this hydrating jelly, the clear part that you're actually seeing, which is the base. I normally just buy that straight up. I bought this one to try it because I got it from Ulta on a flash sale where it was actually cheaper than the price of just the regular hydrating jelly. And because I've noticed no difference whatsoever from having this cartridge in here, that's what I'm gonna go back to using. But yeah, I find that this does the same things for my skin as the Watermelon and Glow Moisturizer does. This is a bit of a thicker texture. That one is much more almost watery, I want to say. But I find that these are really nice, lightweight moisture, especially on days where I know I'm going to be going in with makeup on top. So I'll do this, my sunscreen and makeup, and I find that having a thinner layer of moisture jives better with my skin than going on with some heavy cream and then also sunscreen and then also like primer and foundation and all that. So that's where this type of moisturizer fits in with my skincare routine, although I will often use it at night as well, just as a first layer of moisture before I go in with my nighttime serum. And here's a closer look at that. But again, I don't normally use this one with that blue cartridge thingy in the middle. I just normally use the plain one where it's just the plain gel. It's actually really affordable. I mean, you know what I mean. Affordable is a very relative term, but I feel like it's very reasonably priced. Clinique to me is in many ways an underrated brand, especially for people with sensitive skin. And I feel like we should treat all skin as sensitive skin. I feel like it's just better in the long term, where even if you feel like your skin isn't sensitive, just pretend. You'll probably have better results. Anyway, I love Clinique because I never have to worry about fragrance, and very rarely will I look at a list of ingredients and see something that's outrageous, like lavender oil. In the end, this is just a great workhorse product for me. It's a better value than the Pink Juice Moisturizer. It's got better ingredients in a lot of ways compared to the Pink Juice Moisturizer. So, sorry, Glow Recipe, but you're getting the pink slip. Next up, we have one of my favorite sunscreens. If you guys have seen my favorite mineral-based sunscreens for people of color video, you'll remember that I have kind of different ones for different purposes. And at that time, my favorite sunscreen for wearing under makeup was this one right here, which is the Clinique Mineral Sunscreen Fluid for Face. This has an SPF of 50. This is hard to see because it's white, but whatever, who cares? I still like this. I'm still going to use up what I have of it, but I probably won't be repurchasing because I found this. This is the Muji sunscreen, which also has an SPF of 50. Again, you probably can't see that because she is white. I originally picked this up when I was in Japan, and I was planning to just throw it in my gym bag because I do like to top up my sunscreen before I head home from the gym. But when I opened it and put some on my face, I remembered why I bought this when I was in Japan. The texture is amazing. Really elegant, really lightweight, spreads easily, and leaves zero cast. At the time that I bought this, I had no idea if it was a mineral-based sunscreen or chemical only or a mixture of the two. As you probably cannot see at all, everything written on here is in Japanese. So I couldn't even check the ingredients at the time I was buying it, but I had a feeling that it was at least partially mineral sunscreen just based on me swatching it at the Muji store. And I figured, whatever, it's cheap. I was buying it directly at the Muji store in Japan, so there were no insane markups to like get it from there to the US at that time. It turns out that this is in fact a mix of both chemical and mineral sunscreen. So not my preference. I do prefer all mineral. But for the texture that this leaves and how compatible it is with any foundation I want to wear on top, it's worth it to me. And luckily, I have been able to find this online. Thank you, Jesus. So when this bottle runs out, and she's already pretty low, I think I have maybe a finger's height left, I do have more, so I'm happy about that. Plus, even with buying it online here in the States, it's cheaper than buying another bottle of this, because as you can see, these are both quite small bottles. They're both 30 mils, which is just an ounce. And you need a lot of sunscreen per application. I use about a nickel size. So I'm really happy that I not only prefer this texture-wise to the Clinique, it leaves even less of a cast. I mean, really no cast whatsoever. This one leaves a tinge of a cast on me. I can usually work this in and get rid of it, but still. But this leaves no cast with little to no effort whatsoever, and it's cheaper than the Clinique. Let's get into makeup. The first favorite that got fired is the Becca Backlight Priming Filter. I have been, as you can probably see, this bottle is on its last legs anyway. This is just an illuminating primer. There's many of these on the market, but I love this one, and it frequently goes on sale, like when Ulta does 21 Days of Beauty, which they do a couple times a year. This shows up pretty often at half off, so that's actually a great time to re-up on this product because you can usually get it for half price. But honestly, I barely reach for this any longer ever since this came into my life. I know a lot of you guys are sick of me talking about this. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This one is more straightforward. This is meant to be a primer. This product, I still don't fully know what this is, but I don't do my makeup without it. 9 times out of 9, the way I use it is before I go in with my foundation or concealer. If I'm actually not wearing foundation that day, I'll just use concealer. I'll put this on the high points of my cheeks, Usually a little bit down the bridge of my nose, but not the tip, because y'all know I hate that Rudolph life. And if I feel like it, maybe a little bit in the center of my forehead, but you know, it depends on my mood. And this does so many things. It helps to blur my imperfections. It gives me a little bit of coverage. It gives me that highlighted effect. And when I go on top with my coverage, whether it's foundation, concealer, or both, it's just, mwah, I love it. And I've had this bottle since the product launched. I remember going to a Nordstrom somewhere or another, and they had reps from Charlotte Tilbury there lined up to help shade match you and this and that. And I've been using this nonstop ever since. I would say I'm maybe halfway through the bottle, and I've been working on this for over a year now. So even though this product is expensive, and certainly more expensive than this, since I can sometimes get this at half price, I love that this does more for my skin. I love the effect it gives. I feel like it's a little bit more refined than what this does for my skin. So still love her, but really, really love her. Next up, we have something that might have the Rihanna Navy coming for me, because what I have fired is the Fenty Beauty lip gloss in Fenty Glow. This is the original shade. And yes, y'all, she has been fired and replaced with Fenty Beauty lip gloss in the shade Fussy. Fussy, I think, was the third shade to come out, because they had this, and then I think the Diamond Milk came out, which I also have, but I use that. There's a time and a place for her. But the one that I love and use the most is Fussy. I just love that this one's more pink. This one's more of a peachy kind of color, and I feel like this one just suits me better. My natural lip color is pretty pink, especially my bottom lip is just straight pink, and then my top lip is a little bit darker, more kind of a pinky mauve, and I love this color on me so much more than this one. They're both great. As you can see, she's well loved. She's past the halfway point. I'm still working on my Fussy, but I love my Fussy. This is the one that I tend to grab for if I'm leaving for the night, just in case I want to top up when I'm out for the day or for the night, you know, make sure my lip gloss is still popping. So going forward, I may or may not end up keeping one of these around in my collection just as an option, but more likely, once both of these run out, I'll probably just continue buying the Fussy shade, because this is by far my favorite. The next favorite that got fired is from Bite Beauty, and it is the Matte Cream Lip Crayon. This is the shade Cognac. Beautiful shade, still love her, still use her frequently in fact. But this used to be my go-to brown liner for blending in with my lighter nudes. All my women of color know this. Every girl with some melanin in her skin needs a solid brown lip liner in her stash, because a lot of these nude lipsticks on the market will have us looking like Tyrone Biggums without one. So for years, this was my go-to, because I love that it's thicker than an actual lip liner, so I felt like it was much easier to do that blending. I could just go on my lip line with it and kind of fill in at the same time, then go in with my White Woman's Concealer Color Nude, pat and blend, and it would look great. However, as time has gone on, I do like to have a little bit less richness to my lip liner color compared to this. So these days, almost always what I tend to reach for is matte cork. Good old matte cork. I had a chip on my shoulder about buying this for the longest, because I hate spending a lot of money on just a lip liner. This isn't even technically a lip liner, so I felt like I was at least getting like almost a full lipstick rather than just a lip liner, so I was okay paying a little bit more. But I finally bit the bullet and bought matte cork quite some time ago, and I've never looked back. It is such a perfect color and tone for any of my nude needs. And I also like that it's pigmented but still buildable. It doesn't distract or alter the color of whatever nude I'm going on top with in any way that I might not want it to do. So while this has quite a bit of red in it and the tone is just really rich, like this isn't a lip liner, it's a lipstick essentially. Cork gives me the flexibility that I don't necessarily get with this. Like if I'm going with this, it's because I want to have like that really ombre effect almost. Whereas with this, if I do it lightly, it just helps me keep from looking like I've been eating powdered donuts. Or if I want, I can fill it in more and really build up the color and also create an ombre effect that'll just have a different tone from this. Matte cork is just one of those things that it's worth the hype. I feel like every black girl should have it in her makeup stash. Or as an alternative, there's also, I think it's called chestnut, which is a bit darker. So depending on your complexion, that might suit you better. But it's just the perfect lip liner. It never lets me down. Here you can see the Bite Beauty is just a lot more red and rich, whereas the matte cork, it's neutral, it's a lighter tone, so it actually blends much better with my actual complexion, and it just gives me more versatility. The next fave that has been fired is pretty much all of my eyeshadow brushes. I mean, not really. This one's a little bit of a cheat because I still have eye brushes from other brands that I love and that I will continue to use. But some of you guys may remember last year when I picked up this Soniaji Smudger 1. This brush has been updated / changed, so this exact one doesn't even exist anymore. You can't get it. I mean, it exists. I'm holding it, but you can't get this exact one anymore. But anyway, I picked this up last November from Beautylish during their gift card event. And from that event, I had $40 in unused credit, which I recently used to get some more Soniaji brushes. And I got her Pro Eye Set. So those just came in recently. I wanted to make sure I used my gift cards before they expired because they only give you like less than a year, I think, to actually use them up. So I took the plunge and I got her eye set. And here are two of the brushes that I use today to do my current eye makeup. The one on top is the Blender Pro and this is the Builder Pro. And I'm just gonna say it, these are better than any eye brushes I have ever used. Hands down. And it's not even just the fact that they blend product really well, because I can blend product pretty well with the brushes I already have. Granted, these make it a little bit easier. But what I really love about these is the next level softness. You know, I'm no spring chicken anymore. I'm in my dirty 30s, and we all know how delicate the eye area is. So I think something that people don't really maybe think about, or at least not talk about very much, is just how if you do like to wear makeup and all that agitation around the eye area with brushes and whatnot, you know, you're pulling and poking skin that probably doesn't want to be pulled and poked. So it's become more important than ever to me to be as gentle as possible in that area. And with these, it doesn't even feel like I'm blending. It feels like I'm massaging around my eyes. It's really an interesting experience, and I love them. And I'm thinking when the next gift card event rolls around for Beautylish, I'm going to try a few more of her brushes because I think gradually, as my budget will permit, I'd like to just kind of phase out my brushes that are soft but aren't this soft, because these are truly extraordinary. Soniaji, she did her thing with these brushes. She does face brushes as well. I've just never tried any of those, but I'm sure that those are excellent as well. I'm going to wrap this up with one kind of shocker, and it's from the hair category. And one hair favorite that has been fired is coconut oil. Relax. I haven't fired coconut oil, full stop. I still use coconut oil like crazy. But what I don't use it for any longer is as a sealant. I don't seal my oil with coconut oil anymore. I have been using good old-fashioned castor oil, Jamaican black castor oil to be specific. I always used to hate castor oil as a sealant because it was sticky and kind of heavy, and I just felt like it was tugging on my hair too much when I would try to smooth it on. But I have found that if I warm it up between my hands and if I have just a light layer of moisture on my hair, like from my aloe vera spritz, then I'm good to go. And I actually now like the weight of castor oil on my hair because it really helps to weigh down my ends. Speaking of, if I want something even heavier than the actual Jamaican black castor oil, I'll go in with my Jamaican black castor oil butter. You might be able to find this in a local beauty supply store. I wasn't. I had to get it online. But this is such a dope product. The only ingredient is castor oil. But as you can see, they do something to it to turn it into a butter, or in my opinion, grease kind of texture. So these two, depending on how my hair feels or what I'm doing with it or just what I feel like my hair needs more, these have been my go-to end sealants, you know, between wash days. On wash days, I do still tend to prefer going in with my Chemet Biologics Olive and Honey Balm. But in the meantime, in between time, these have been my go-tos. I don't be using my coconut oil to seal my hair, and in particular to seal my ends, no mo. Like I was saying, I think I just like the heaviness of these compared to coconut oil, because coconut oil is rather a lightweight oil once you melt it down from its solid form. But both of these are much heavier and thicker, and I feel like that heaviness helps to weigh down my ends and mitigate the amount of single strand knots that I get. So yeah, I know I'm kind of the coconut oil queen, and of course, I love me some jojoba. But when I'm looking for something thick with 2 C's for my ends, these have been my go-tos. This video was actually chosen by y'all to be today's upload because I had this and a couple other ideas that I was considering, and I did a Patreon poll, and y'all made it quite clear that this is the one you wanted to see first. But thank you to everyone who voted in the poll, and thank you to everyone who has joined me on Patreon, period. I'm really ecstatic and slightly surprised that anyone has signed up. If any of my fired faves reminded you of things that maybe you used to use and don't use anymore because you replaced it with something else, leave a comment, or if you make videos, make a video. Let's make this a tag. Why not? But beyond that, I got nothing for you, so enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I will leave you with one gentle reminder before I go. Never trust anyone with a Morphico, baby. Don't. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. Bye-bye.
That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm going to tell you that now.